Right, friends? Chalo. Okay, we're done with case study 1, so let's move on with case study 2. So we don't have much of a time, so let's straight away get into the question. So I hope you guys have your question over here. This is the document which I have sent you. Okay, you can read the question from here also, but unfortunately there has been mistake here, a small mistake in the last two parts. Therefore, I'll study the question from your ICA document. Okay, chalo. Bala and Singh LLP, Bs Llp is an accounting firm in form of limited liability partnership with 20 branches across India. In all major cities, so they have all these branches, fine. Bs Llp offers to its customer services in accountancy, assurance, tax consultancy, business advisory services, etc. Right? Since the country is passing through economic slowdown, hence large number of businesses are entering into either internal or external reconstruction. Resultantly, advisory services are in huge demand. So that's least expected. Whenever a country enters into recession, definitely your most of the companies will go for internal or external reconstruction. They have to revamp their business to get back in action. And the good thing for us, like people like us, the chartered accountants are, our advisory services will always be in huge demands in these kind of scenarios. Okay. Now, the industry of accounting practices in India is mature despite some of the statutes enforced recently. Right. As a part of performance analysis at Bs Llp, partners of for each service domain collectively meet with top officers on monthly basis. Following performance related data belong to latest financial year was considered in one of the recent conducted partner meeting. So what is that? Let us see. So you have particulars: accounting, audit, tax consultancy and business advisory. Revenue in crores is there: 690, 846, 145 and 34. Then we have growth of revenue over previous year: 2%, 9%, 3% and 18%. So business advisory has got major growth. You know the reason for that. We have already read the same in the question. Net profit ratio 5%, 4.3%, 6.7% and 9.8% chalta hai. Revenue in crores of accounting industry as a whole. So 200518, 5430, 1652 and 286. Fine. Now, remuneration structure at Bs Llp. So what are they? Partners are getting fixed contractual payment apart from share in profit. So they get share in profit as well as fixed payment, right? Non-partners, they are getting fixed salary apart from variable pay depending upon rating from their immediate boss and peers. Okay, what sort of rating, how they are going to rate, what is the structure, no information is given, so it is pretty vague, so keep that in mind. Client relation officer who is working parallel to marketing team first time participated in monthly performance evaluation meeting and presented following data which contain rating from clients of Bs Llp. It is decided that these ratings will also be added in performance matrix table which is stated above. Okay, you have the performance matrix table over here. In addition to that, this also will be added. So what is that? Customer ratings, higher the better. Obviously you got maximum for business advisory which is 4.5 and audit and taxes got the least. Accounting is okay. Now let us see what has been asked. So your newly appointed management consultant with experience in non-finance performance evaluation technique, which means non-numbers. Okay. During discussion at lunch table, managing partner Mr. Singh explains the above process of performance analysis to you. You quoted about your past experience of implementing non-financial, performance evaluation techniques, including performance prism, balance scorecard, and building block. Okay. Building block sounds interesting to Mr. Singh. He asks you to. Okay. That's really smart of him because we guys know that building block is something that suits for what? Service sector. And when it comes to manufacturing sector, earlier it used to be balance scorecard. It was a highly successful model, no doubt about that. But now it has become outdated. It has got few negative points as well, which we have seen in a case study which we have done. So performance prism is the one. Unfortunately, as of now, when we guys are talking to each other, there are still so many top private banks, which is obviously service sector, and they are still engaging with balance scorecard. That's what I heard recently from one of my friend. You can just imagine. So balance scorecard is something that is not suitable for service sector, and also even for manufacturing sector it is not suitable. It has become outdated. Now performance prism has taken it over, but still you can just imagine how dated they are, and it is one of the top 2 private banks in the country. So you can understand how much there is a depth, exact need of management consultants in our country. So that is one area which nobody's sorry for that, is willing to explore. Anyways, so let's see what Mr. Singh has asked us to. So first one is list essential components of any performance measurement system. That's fine. Describe building block model of performance measurement or management, right? That's fine. We need to explain the concept, which we already know. Evaluate the Bs Llp's existing performance measurement system from perspective of three essential aspects of building block model. So the three essential aspects, dimensions, standards and rewards that we're gonna see. Advise the main improvements that introduction of building block approach can bring to Bs Llp's performance management system. So that is the question. Okay, it's a good one. So what you guys do is that read the case study at least 3 times. Okay, so I'm gonna give you 3 minutes. Okay, so you guys read your case study. So once you're done with your reading, we'll start with the answer. Okay, so read the case study, guys, 3 times. So I hope you guys are done with your reading. Chalo. So let's look at the requirement. Let's look at the first one. List essential components of any performance management system or performance measurement system. Okay, now the point is, this is very important conceptual thing that you have to learn from this question. Why? Because these essential components of performance measurement system, you can use it in some other case study or a case scenario in a different situation, because it has got universal appeal. When I say universal appeal, it means that you are trying to learn a concept from a particular question, but then it can be used in a lot of other places. It has got such a kind of potential. So those kind of concepts are really important, and that's the way we develop the ability slowly to solve new problems or new case studies or new case scenarios. I hope you guys are able to follow what I'm trying to say. So many students ask me this particular question. Even today, to be very honest, I received so many messages where they were asking me, sir, how to actually solve or approach a new case study or a new case scenario that comes in an examination. Well, see, my answer is very simple. This is how you're gonna do it. First, learn the concept, practice as much as possible. So it's not just like solving problems or case studies, you have to practice them the right way. Like for example, when you solve a particular question, or you have solved some 10 or 20 different questions, it's not like you should be looking at that you have solved some 20 number of questions. It's like how many adjustments or concepts that you have learned from those 20 questions is all that matters. For example, the kind of 20 questions that you have solved is not that depth oriented. There is not much to learn from those kind of questions. Then what you have actually learned is nothing, even though you have solved 20 or 30 sums. Whereas suppose you have learned a lot of adjustments, concepts and application skills from even from say for example some 5 questions or 10 questions, then it means that in reality you have actually solved more number of sums. So it's all about the quality of the sums and the quality of your learning process. So in my class, that's the reason I've told you guys so many times that there is something called universal points, and I told you how to use those universal points. As a what? For example, if you look at the negative point of any new system that is getting introduced, for example target costing or just in time or business process reengineering or anything, there's a common point that there's a lot of money being involved, so it is expensive and also it is time taking. So you can write certain points where it can be applied to almost all the things. So that's where I call it as universal points. So these kind of things are very important. Now this first question in this particular case study falls under similar scenario. Okay, so list essential components of performance measurement system. That's very important. So without making any further delay, let's get into the solution now. So here it is. So that's your power notes. Right guys, so case study 2, of course it is based on chapter performance measurement and evaluation, and the concept is building block model. That's quite obvious the moment you look at the question. Okay, so let's start with the first one. Essential components of performance measurement system or management system. Now, what are the essentials that you need? Okay, first one, structure of an organization. See, if you want to implement a thorough performance measurement system, first of all, your structure of your organization must be clear. Means it should be clearly divided into various divisions. It should also be clearly divided into various functional divisions, which means based on functions. Say for example, manufacturing function or administrative function or selling and distribution function, something like that. So the structure of your organization has to be very clear. Only then we'll be able to implement the performance measurement system thoroughly. You will understand why it is once we go through the rest of the case study. Right now, just remember that, okay, fine. One of the most important essential components of a perfect performance measurement system is to have a good detailed structure of an organization. Functional structure or divisional structure, whatever it is. Now point number 2, responsibility centers. What do you mean by that? Say you want to measure performance of something or somebody, whatever it is, you need to make somebody responsible. Otherwise there is no question of measuring the performance. For example, let's say quality department is there, or quality control department, or marketing and sales department. Now somebody should be responsible for the same. Single point of contact, so that if something goes wrong, you can call upon that person, you can ask him why something has gone wrong, you can get the explanation from him, and if it is fine, that's okay. If it is not fine, then you will take countermeasures on him. Thereby you try to control what's happening. So responsibility center is a must, because you need to make somebody responsible. Otherwise nobody is going to take responsibility for something that is happening. When there is no responsibility, nobody is going to work with utmost efficiency. So that's a basic common thing. Are you able to understand? So responsibility centers are that important. You also need to have a system to identify KPIs, key performance indicators. Also, you got to establish yardsticks. For example, suppose for quality, if you fix KPI as something like number of defects, the way you measure the quality, you can measure quality with the number of defects or percentage of defects or percentage of warranty that has been claimed, number of warranties that has been claimed, or percentage of consumer complaints that you have received with respect to that particular product. It can be anything. That we call it as yardstick. Yardstick is something like a basis to measure something. Okay, that we call it as a yardstick. So you need to have a system in place which can identify key performance indicators, and you can measure them with the help of some sort of a yardstick. So that should also be there if you want to have a good performance measurement system. And last but not least, of course, the review system, where you compare your standards with the actuals and you calculate the variances. And of course, you try to investigate the variances, and then you take countermeasures. This we have seen in standard costing chapter already, correct? So review system is that important. Of course, it makes a lot of sense, right? So once you have established a system in place, and then you have to review it, obviously. So I fixed the standard, that's fine. Then I have to see how the actuals are happening. Then I have to compare the actuals that is happening with the standard and see whether the variance is favorable or adverse, and see who is the person that is responsible for the same, and see whether it is in his control or out of his control, whether it is controllable variance or uncontrollable variance. If it is controllable, what is the reason why he was not able to control it? If it is uncontrollable, then obviously we can't blame the person, but we need to see the external factors responsible for the same and see whether there are any ways where you can somehow at least reduce that risk in future. So there are a lot of things to be managed over here, but ultimately what you guys need to understand is, in any organization, there are 4 essential components of a good and effective performance management system or measurement system, whatever it is. Point number 1, your structure of organization must be clear, defined. 2, responsibility centers must be put in place, because you have to make somebody responsible if you want to measure the performance and ultimately control or improve the efficiency of the people. 3rd, system to identify KPIs along with yardsticks. Obviously, yardsticks is something to measure. And of course, last but not least, you need to have a review system in place where you compare the actuals with the standards, and of course, after comparing, you'll calculate the variance. After that, you'll do the investigation. Then you'll take the countermeasures. Countermeasures means you'll take some action upon the person who have done something wrong or right, whatever it is. Are you able to understand? So that's it. Chalo, let's move on to the next one. Next, obviously, if you look at the question, so list essentials of any performance measurement system. We are done with it. We have seen the 4 points. Describe building block model of performance measurement. Now, we know the concept. It is not something new. So copy paste the concept of building block model. You need to write at least 10 lines, for example. You know the concept. I gave you the power notes. It was discussed in the class and you guys have written the notes. So it is nothing new. From there, just copy paste it over here. So you know that there are 3 building blocks. I've drawn the diagram also like this. Dimensions, standards and rewards. Under dimensions, you have got 2 things, results and determinants. Okay. So determinants will determine the results. Under results, you have got competitive performance and financial performance. Under determinants, you have got quality of service, quality and service, of course, flexibility, resource utilization, and then what? Innovation. Now these determinants will determine the results. And under standards, you have the points how the standard should be: ownership, achievability and fairness, rewards, clarity, motivation and controllability. Okay, see, there is nothing new over here. We have discussed everything. So you have to just copy paste the concept over here and write it down, and that's all you have to do. Chalo, let's move on to the next one. Now look at the third part of your question. Evaluate the Bs Llp's existing performance measurement system from perspective of 3 essential aspects of building block model. So you know the concept of building block model. From the perspective of this concept, you got to measure the performance of existing performance measurement system, which is right now in place with respect to Bs Llp. Got the point? Now let us see how are we going to do that. Now, okay, let's do that. Evaluation of existing performance measurement system of Bs Llp. Now you know that in the question there has been something called performance matrix, correct? So based on that, let us see what can we understand first of all. Now you got to look into the question simultaneously. You have to look into this performance matrix and let us see what we can understand from the same. Based on the performance matrix used by the partners in their monthly meeting, we can understand that the focus is only on financial performance, No focus is on determinants. Determinants in the sense we are talking about qualitative aspects. For example, you can see the determinants over here: quality and service, flexibility, resource utilization, innovation. All these are non-number oriented stuff, right? So we can easily understand that the major focus is on financial performance. Why? Because as you can see, revenue in numbers, growth of revenue over years again in numbers, net profit ratio in numbers, revenue in crores, you are comparing with the industry, that is again in numbers. Probably this is the only thing where we are talking about the quality. Now you can say, sir, already customer ratings we are considering, right? Yes, it is being considered and that comes under quality, correct. But what about the remaining three? So quality is considered, fine, through customer ratings. What about flexibility? What about resource utilization? What about innovation? Did we consider that? The answer is absolutely no. So prima facie, on the face of it, we can understand that the focus is purely on numbers with respect to the existing performance measurement system of Bs Llp, and less focus is on determinants. You can answer, sir, can we write less focus is on non-financial parameters? You can also write that, but it's quite clear in the question that you have to analyze the existing performance measurement system from the perspective of building block model. That is what the question has asked. Therefore, I have to use the word determinants because I have to analyze it from the perspective of building block model. In building block model, obviously the word used is determinant, so I'm going to use the same word. So that's the logic. I hope you guys have understood it, right? Chalo, let's move on to the next one. Okay, let's analyze this further. Which one we need to analyze further? The existing system. Okay, let's analyze it. So under dimensions, you have got two things, results and determinants. We know that. Let's start with results. Under results, we have got two things, financial performance and competitive performance. Let's look at the financial performance. As you can see, net profit margin, they are trying to look at it. Also, they are seeing increase or decrease in revenue over previous year. Do we have that? You can see a net profit margin is there. Growth of revenue over previous year, that is also there. So that comes under financial performance, right? Competitive performance, revenue of this Bs Llp, they are comparing with industry revenue segment wise, probably to calculate market share. That is also there. Revenue in crores of accounting industry as a whole, if you can see, and revenue in crores of this particular firm, LLP, Bs Llp, right? So when it comes to financial performance, yeah, they're considering net profit margin and increase or decrease in revenue over previous year. With respect to competitive performance, they are comparing the revenue of Bs Llp with the industry revenue, and thereby they are eventually able to calculate the market share. So this is what they are doing right now. Okay, so results are fine under dimensions. What about determinants? So far we have seen results. Okay, I already told you, the moment we have seen, they are concentrating only on numbers but not on non-numbers. So numbers already we have seen, which is results, financial and competitive. What about non-numbers? Non-numbers are nothing but determinants. Under that we have quality of service, flexibility, resource utilization, innovation. Among these four, only quality of service is being considered through customer ratings, which is given in the question. As you can see here, can you see the customer rating? Obviously, right? And that's the KPI, key performance indicator for quality of service. That's it. Flexibility, they are looking at nothing. Resource utilization, they are looking at nothing. Innovation, they are looking at nothing. Are you able to get me? Right. Chalo. Okay, now with this, we are done with determinants and results under dimensions, which means dimensions part is done. Under dimensions, we have results and determinants. We have seen the results and then we have seen the determinants. You got the point. Now we're going to move on to the next one. What is the next one? Standards. Let's have a look into standards now. Coming on to standards, as of now, this particular LLP is measuring segment-wise performance against performance of the industry. That's what they are looking at from standards point of view. What is our standard with respect to the industry standard, you know? So you know that standards must have three quality traits. One, your standard should be in such a way that the person who is actually performing the standard must own it. Second, it should be in such a way that a person is confident enough or capable enough of achieving it. So it should not be like impossible to achieve, something like that. And of course, there should be fairness in the sense you should not give too tight standard to one particular department and too loose standard to another department. See, all these concepts we have already seen, right? And of course, reward system, it should not be confusing. It should be quite clear so that people should be able to understand. Only if they understand, they'll be able to do their own calculation that how much reward they're going to get, and eventually what will happen, they'll perform well, because that understanding of a good and easy reward system will motivate them. Are you able to understand? Otherwise, if you can, if you put a reward system in place where it's very complicated to understand, then obviously they can't understand, which means they can't get motivation, which means obviously they'll not perform. Now that will affect the efficiency. Got the point? Chalo. Anyways, so this is the concept that we have already seen when it comes to this particular standards. Now see here, coming on to ownership, what this guy is doing right now. First of all, ownership means somebody should be made responsible for a particular standard to get achieved. For example, suppose you have got sales happening, a sales manager should be made responsible. Production material usage variance, for example, production manager must be made responsible. Material price variance, for example, the procurement manager or the purchase department manager must be made responsible. So like that, somebody should own it. Now to do that, to make somebody responsible, you should have an organization structure in place, because that was the one of the essential requirements of good performance measurement system, which we have already seen just now. Organization structure, both functional and divisional. Now, do we have something like this over here? Unfortunately, no. Organization structure of Bs Llp is not clearly defined. So obviously ownership for each dimension cannot be identified. Pretty simple. Got the point? Chalo. Second, achievability and fairness. Measurement of segment-wise performance against industry performance is the only thing that they are doing. Now, is it achievable? Yes, it is achievable. There's nothing unfair in that, so no problem with respect to that. But we don't have much of an information beyond that, so therefore we're going to restrict our answer here itself. Now, moving on to the next one, reward system. Okay, we have two types of rewards for partners and non-partners. That is quite clearly given in the question. Coming on to non-partners, they are getting variable pay plus based on rating by immediate boss and peer. Of course, they are getting fixed pay as well, but their variable pay is based on the rating that is given by the immediate boss or peer, which means the one who is immediately step above with respect to a particular employee. Now, while reading the question itself, I've told you guys that this particular so-called rating system, how their bosses are rating, is there a special mechanism or a structure for the same, is quietly unclear in the question. So, which means it is vague. That's what we have told here. But criteria for rating is not clearly defined. Weight also not mentioned for boss rating. Weight means the measures. Okay, how are you going to give those measures for respective performances? So therefore, if the so-called rating is not rational, if it is not fair, then instead of doing positive kind of a thing, it may become negative. It may demotivate people. Because if your rating system is fair enough, then people know that if you're efficient, then you will be rewarded, and thereby it will motivate them positively to work hard. But if your reward system, the rating system by your boss and your peers, the immediate boss and peer, it's not fair, then what will happen? Obviously, sorry for that, you'll be demotivated, right? Are you able to understand? So instead of doing positive stuff in your company, the rating system will become a villain. It will do negative, right? So that's good or bad? Absolutely bad. Now, moving on to your partners. So coming on to partners, they are getting fixed remuneration plus share of profit. Okay. But in the question, it's quite unclear that the share of profit is from what? Is the share of profit is of the respective division which that partner is taking care of, or it's a share of profit from the whole company as a whole? That's not clear. Because if that share of profit is from a particular division which that particular partner is taking care of, then it's good. He will ensure that his division works really fine, because otherwise he is not going to get any share of profit. But if a particular partner is getting share of profit from the company as a whole, then probably he will not take care of his own division, because anyway, as a whole from the company, even if the other divisions perform really well, still he will be getting a share of profit. Are you able to understand what I'm trying to say? So in case if the share of profit is from the company as a whole, then see what's going to happen. Because of this, they may not improve the performance of bad performing divisions if they got profit share from the whole. From whole in the sense from whole of the company. You understand the point? In that case, what happens? Your respective division, even if it doesn't perform well, kuch farak nahi padta, kyunki you will be getting your share of profit really well because the other guys will be performing well. Now, don't ask me a question saying that, sir, if all the guys think like this and if they don't perform, then what's going to happen? See, there are so many people who does work because of personal integrity and ethics. So they will perform irrespective of anything that's going to happen. Are you able to understand? So it's not like everybody will be, something like this. So it's not going to happen in real life. So that's how it works. In case if it's an exceptional situation and if nobody works, then it's fine. Anyway, nobody will get share of profit. Then anyway, they'll be forced to work. That's a good thing also. Chalo, in one way, of course. You got this? Okay, now. So let's advise what to improve in this performance measurement system. Existing performance measurement system, which is in place in Bs Llp. Now, first one, improvement will be consideration of all dimensions of performance. That's obvious. It's a very basic sentence, right? Even with common sense, you can write this. Why? Because just now we have seen that he is not considering all the aspects of dimensions, especially the determinants. He has just considered quality of service. He did not consider all the other aspects like flexibility, resource utilization, innovation. Flexibility was not considered. Resource utilization was not considered. Innovation was not considered. So obviously, what will be your answer? Arey yaar, consider kar lo. Consider everything. Then ends the matter. That's the first improvement advice we can give, right? It's a common sense. Nothing much to think also. It's very simple and straightforward. And all critical success factors of performance should be measured because, see, there is a link. I already explained you this concept in PME. Critical success factors and key performance indicators, right? You need a CSF to achieve the objective of your company and you need a KPI to achieve your CSF. And what is that? I've explained you already. There is a video in my YouTube channel also. You can just go and watch. Or, of course, I've explain it in the class. If you want, you can just go to my YouTube channel. There's a specific video where I've really simplified the concept and explained you the concept of CSF and KPI. There you can understand. Chalo, anyways. So what are the three things that these guys have missed under the dimensions of performance? That is 3 determinants. There are 4 determinants actually, but quality is considered by way of customer rating, but flexibility is not considered, resource utilization is not considered, and innovation is not considered. Now, how can we consider that? That is what the advice that we are going to do. Because he has to improve it. If he has to improve, he has to consider everything. Then how to consider it also, we have to advise. Are you able to understand? That's what we are going to do. Now, flexibility. How to consider? Improvement from perspective of delivery of service. This is improvement. Improvement from perspective of delivery of service. The manner in which you are delivering your service. Timing of your delivery on time. All these things will increase the flexibility, right? Coming on to resource utilization. Staff is the key resource, especially for this particular firm. So you got to measure the efficiency of the staff or the productivity of the staff. Now, how can you do that? Probably number of hours charged divided by total number of hours available will help you to measure the efficiency. And based on that, you can see whether you are utilizing your staff resource really well or not. If it is not, utilized in a proper manner, then probably you can improve it. Are you able to understand? First of all, you should know what's happening, right? That's the most important part. Next, of course, innovation. Now, first of all, scope for innovation is less when it comes to service sector. But yes, certain kind of innovation you can do with the help of using IT tools. Now, you can see even for many CA firms, there are a lot of IT tools that has come into picture. Of course, Tally is something that is age old. But you can imagine prior to Tally, at that time, Tally is an innovative stuff, right? And now so many other things are coming like financial modeling, blah, blah, blah. So many things are coming. Apart from that, you can also use innovation to introduce new services, on behalf of your LLP firm. Now, providing new range of services can be seen as innovation. Are you able to understand? So, it's a pretty simple thing, right? So, that's what. All the other concepts that we know about standards, rewards, etc. Okay, about this building block model, you can just copy paste from the concepts which we know already. Are you able to understand? Which means now, as of now, I've just written here with respect to the dimensions of performance. With respect to standards and rewards, we already know the concept. I already taught you. Standards means what are the 3 qualities of a standard, that we have seen here already. It should have a ownership trait, achievability and fairness trait, as well as reward system. Are you able to understand? So these points you can just write. Here also you got the concept over here. I'll just show you. So ownership, achievability and fairness, and then reward system. You got clarity, motivation and controllability, which means your reward should be clear. It should be motivating, which means your rewards cannot be peanuts. It should be some decent amount which will motivate. And your reward should be in such a situation where you're gonna provide rewards for a particular performance to a particular individual which is under his control. That's what you call controllability. Are you able to understand? For example, we have seen this so many times. Suppose there is a procurement division and they are buying some metal from outside or some copper, and the international price of copper all of a sudden it got shot up, and as a result their purchase price went up. and as a result there was adverse material price variance, purchase price variance, and as a result your reward system says that because there is an adverse price variance, we should not be giving him any sort of reward or bonus. Instead, he should be penalized, something like that. Then that's not fair, right? Because that international prices are not under the control of your procurement manager. So you should have a reward system in place in such a way that the uncontrollable aspects must be eliminated. Are you able to understand? So these are all the concepts that we have seen already with respect to standards and rewards, right? Standards means, of course, you should fix standards in such a way that the persons who are achieving it must own it, which means it should be from bottom up budgeting. In a sense, you should also take the advice from the lower level people when you're fixing the standard. Then they will own the standard and they will work towards it. Achievability means you should fix a standard in such a way that it's practically achievable. You cannot fix too high a standard where people will feel that anyway it is not achievable, so let's not work, and that will be very devastating for the company or a firm. Fairness means you should be fair enough, in the sense equity. Equity in the sense whatever the kind of toughness of standard that you give to one department, you should give to other department as well. It's not like one department you give a very easy standard to achieve, another department you give very tough standard to achieve. Now that's not good. So that comes under fairness. And of course, rewards, clarity, motivation, and controllability I've already taught you. So this is the concept which you've already learned. So those things you guys need to write over here. It is straight away there in your concept material, the power notes. There we have written building block model clearly. From there, you copy paste the other concepts of the building block model, especially the standards and the rewards. Are you able to understand? Which is what we have discussed right now. You got it, guys? That's it. So we have simplified this particular case study. I hope you guys have enjoyed this particular video, right? Anyways, so now what you guys do, copy. I'll give you 2 minutes per page. Right, guys, copy that. Copy it, guys. Next, copy this. Copy it, guys. Right? Chalo, next. So copy this. Sorry for that. I hope you guys are done with copying this. Chalo, next. Right, guys. Next one. copy this. Copy done. Next. Copy it, guys. Next. Copy this one. Copy it, guys. Next. So that's the last one. Finish it off. We'll be done with this particular case study. Right, guys. So let's wind up this session. Thank you.